Hello from the Hoboken Historical Museum. We are streaming out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Hoboken Talks, where on Thursday nights we talk about Hoboken. There have been many great past shows, and tonight I have the privilege of interviewing the one and only Lou Carbone. Welcome, Lou. My name is Pamela Strell, by the way. I'm really flattered to be asked to be the guest host tonight to ask you
Pamela.
a bunch of questions. Hi,
and
Lou.
I'm happy that you're doing this.
Thank you. So to put it in Gary Spector's words, the great local photographer in Hoboken, you are an icon, an eclectic artist, a talented fine art painter, and you seem to know more people than anyone else in Hoboken.
Leave it to Gary. You and I'm really quite something.
So, Lou.
Yes.
How did you find Hoboken? Let's start from the beginning.
Okay. My mother was born in Hoboken.
Really?
In 1910. But I didn't know anything about Hoboken. I was born in Jersey City, but by the time I was 3 months old, they were out in the suburbs. So I grew up in the suburbs and didn't know a thing about Hoboken until Maxwell's opened in 1979 or 80 or something like that.
Were you a big music fan?
I was sort of a big music fan. I went there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't always go to the back room, but yeah, I went there a lot. And I spent a lot of time there since then.
So what made you decide to move here? And you've been here 4 decades now?
Yes, I came here in 81. I came to see, can't remember the name of the place, Beaten Path. The Beaten Path had a write-up in the Star Ledger, and I was living in East Orange, an apartment in East Orange, $150 apartment in East Orange.
How many bedrooms?
1 bedroom.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, it was. Parquet floors, molding in the walls. It was, one of those pre-war apartments, and it was great. But I read this article about a place in Hoboken where you could hear folk music and you could eat health food. At the time, it was health food. I had bulgur wheat and steamed vegetables, and listened to a guy who stayed in New York for 30 years after that. And for God's sake, I can't remember his name. Anyway, I got my health food and folk music and took a walk around and couldn't believe, the spaces and how great it looked to me. And I had an apartment the next month for $150 a
Wow.
month.
And where was your first apartment?
602 Park. It was a railroad, and it was small, and it was a 5th floor walk up. But I was young.
Right.
So.
How old were you when you came here?
Oh, I wasn't that young. I was 28 or something.
So now, did you mention to me once that you moved here with a bunch of other people from Montclair State?
Yeah.
Did you all come together?
Well, I mean, we didn't take the same van. But
you all moved here at the same time?
We all moved from Montclair to here at around the same time.
And were you all working at Montclair? Were you art students there?
We were art students. Mm-hmm. At Montclair, we threw a couple of cabinets together and had a loft over the top of the cabinets. I used to wake up in the middle of drawing classes or painting classes, and you spend a lot of nights in the studios there. And there was a close-knit group of people who eventually made it here.
And are they all still living here in Hoboken?
No, maybe none of them.
So why did you
My friend John Patterson, who was one of those people, didn't move here for a very long time, but now lives here with his wife. And
so how come you stuck it out all these years in Hoboken?
Well, at first, it was access to Manhattan. I was coming in, I don't know, 3 days a week to to play darts and to go to bars. And
So I was told you were a super competitive dart player, playing like the #1 world ranked player and beating him. Is this true?
it's not. It's sort of true. I was a very, very good league player. I wasn't a pro by any means, but my doubles partner and I knocked John Part, who was a Canadian who was ranked #1 in the world at the time, and my partner and I knocked he and his partner out of a 501 tournament in Long Island at the Long Island Open, and then we lost in the very next round. So no, I wasn't any great shooter, but I was a great league shooter. I had won the Manhattan singles a few times, and I had won the doubles with partners a few times, and I was MVP a couple of times.
That's incredible. I'm wondering if all of your friends listening right now even knew any of this about you.
I'm sure some of them did, but not most of them. Of the 9 people that are watching now, maybe 4 now.
Okay.
All right.
So you moved here. You were going into the city a lot to play darts. At that point in time, were you an illustrator by profession, or had you pivoted already to just dedicate your?
I had lots of jobs. I had been in the painters union. And I wanted to get out. And so I took night classes at Parsons with an illustration. It was an illustration class with a woman named Jessica Weber, who was the art director at Food and Wine. And she started giving me work. So I got some work for her. And then I used that to make a portfolio and get other jobs. But I got to be honest, I never really felt it as an illustrator. I always thought that I was going to go back to painting. And then by the time I did go back to painting, I thought I'll never do another painting if I keep doing this, doing the illustration.
So you just stopped?
Yeah, so I got out while I could.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at that point, did you get a studio in Hoboken and dedicate your energy to your art?
No, I still had to work. I mean, even when I was in school, I was loading trucks at night for UPS. I always had to work. But instead of working as an illustrator, I was painting apartments.
Right. That's how I met you.
That's right.
I needed someone to paint our house about 15 years ago, and I called our dear friend Gary Spector, whose exhibit we're actually sitting in right now.
Yes, beautiful exhibit.
Still open until next week, I believe, if you want to catch
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Sunday. So Gary Spector is an incredible photographer, just as an aside, and he did this essential workers photo shoot of different people that work at Hoboken Hospital, Hoboken University Medical Center, and it's a really wonderful, wonderful portrait exhibit. If you want to still grab a look, you still can by Sunday. So you started working in oils, is that right? Your initial medium?
Yeah. No, you know what? Very early on, I worked in acrylics. Then I started working in oils, and I always had bronchial issues. I had asthma as a kid, and I always got bronchitis a couple of times a year, and it was no good for me to breathe oil paint, which I fought for years and years, and then I thought, screw this, I don't want to die behind it. So then I went back to acrylics. And I really like acrylics now. I like that they're fast and Well, and that I'm not killing myself using
Right? You
them.
can breathe and paint at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah. I can do um, lots of glazes. I
Hmm.
could work 3, 4, 5 times over something and get it the way I like it. So
So, if can we take a look at some of your paintings? Our producer director Rand Hoppy here is going to be kind enough to throw up a painting or two of Lou's that we can have a
I may
look
be
at.
kind enough to throw up too. That's possible.
Please don't do that or look that way. Wow.
Self-portrait. First one in forever.
When did you
I
paint
did a
that?
self-portrait maybe 30 years ago, and then I did this in the pandemic.
How did the pandemic affect your work? Was there a change in the way you practiced?
Yeah, like crazy. I have a studio in town, and I was afraid to go to it because there were other people, and there was an elevator that was the size of a coffin, and I was afraid to go up on it.
Is that at Newman Leathers?
Yeah, and then I started to work at home, and I started working small, 16 by 20 inches, and fast because they were in acrylics, and because my time was so focused, there was really nothing else to think about. So I did 40 paintings
That's incredible.
during the pandemic.
So you actually, I mean, obviously the pandemic has been a horrible, tragic time, but there are little bits of positive result. And in your case, where you were able to really dedicate your time and focus to your art.
Yeah, that's true. I was scared to death, the whole time, but um, yeah, never. I was never that focused. It was never so clear that this is what I should be doing.
So you would wake up and just
Go right to it.
go right to it.
Cup of coffee and then go right to it.
Yeah. Did you miss your? So I didn't speak about this, but probably everybody watching knows that your favorite pastime is having coffee at different cafes around town.
That's true.
I mean, you can really find Lou out and about at various cafes, and you
forever since I moved here.
Really?
Yeah.
So, do you have an organized group that you meet with in the cafes,
Well,
or
no, there's nothing organized.
or you
about
just
the
decide you wake up where you're going to go?
Group. No. We had there have been a giant list of places where a core group of people sort of started 25 years ago to go to, and some of those people are still doing it.
What was the
day.
first cafe that you went to 25 years
the first
ago?
one wasn't a cafe. I used to sit in front of Blackwater Books for, probably 3 or 4 hours a day.
Where is Blackwater Books?
It was between 5th and 6th on Washington on the west side of the street. And I have no idea what's there now. But it was like heaven. Everybody was associated with it. You saw people all the time. There it is.
Oh, great. Thank you, Rand.
Yeah.
So
There's Elena Sky and Dave Cogswell. They owned it. That's them outside on the chairs. And it was wonderful. There was a coffee shop across the street. So there was no lack of coffee. And
that's where you hung out.
Yeah, that's where I hung out. And then after that, it started to be coffee shops. But so many of them. Park Pastries, Coffee Warehouse, Hoboken.com. So many I can't remember, actually. Mola, big one. Mola, Frozen Monkey.
Frozen Monkey, yes.
Yeah, so many.
They were like a shooting star. They were great while they were here, and then they were gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were sometimes the only way I get to talk to somebody in a day was going to the coffee shop.
So I see you now these days at Empire and Boy, I would say.
Yeah.
The original Boy on Washington Street,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There every morning.
Yeah. So Boy is your morning coffee?
Yeah.
Empire's your afternoon?
Yeah.
What are you drinking these days?
I'm drinking coffee.
Just
Coffee,
black?
cream, no sugar.
No sugar?
Yeah.
Just in case your listeners want to treat you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
They can go by and see you.
Let's hope not.
So what did you do during the pandemic instead of your coffee?
I made it at home. I made instant. It was awful, but it's what had to be done.
I heard some of the people that hang out at the cafes in the morning kept a Zoom coffee meeting every morning during the pandemic or every week.
They did.
They did?
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that. I will look at a website. Rand put images together for this presentation and said, give me your input or edit. And when I went to press, open, it asked me to give them a password, and that was the end of it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to look at them. I didn't want to have to make a password. So that's how I feel about Zoom.
Okay.
Zoom
so
meetings.
no Zoom for Lou.
No Zoom.
So how many paintings would you say you did during the pandemic?
40.
You did 40.
40. And
wow.
I've got another maybe 20 that are in the works,
really?
that are, piled that's to be worked on.
Fantastic.
Soon.
So who are some of your inspirations? Rand, maybe you can throw up another, well, not literally throw up, but put up another painting of Lou's that we can look at. Who are some of your inspirations?
All right. Well, a lot of them are, the same people, but I guess Diego Rivera is an inspiration for me.
Did you go to Mexico City to visit?
I did, yeah. I went to Mexico City. I checked his studio out in Frida Kahlo's and hired a guy to drive me around town that I probably paid a year's salary to. But it was a wonderful trip. And also my favorite painter, though it probably doesn't have very much to do with my painting, is Modigliani, Amedeo Modigliani.
And have you gone to Italy?
I have, yeah. I went to Livorno. I went to see where he grew up, just for the hell of it. It was a mistake.
Why?
It's like Fort Lee. There's really nothing special about it. I couldn't even find any reference to Modigliani.
It's a good thing no one from Livorno is watching this interview right now. They may have something to say
about
about that.
I may have a big following in Livorno.
I know you can catch a boat to Corsica from Livorno. It's a pretty waterfront town.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at some more. These are beautiful.
These are all very recent. These are some of the 16 by 20s.
Oh, so these are the ones you painted during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, yeah.
So I see that a lot of your images, or so far all the ones I've seen, they're missing faces. What's the story behind that?
Well, they're missing all kinds of things.
Detail.
I like to remove the minutia, really. They're missing faces, but they're missing fingers, and they're missing nipples, and they're missing a lot of things. I sort of feel like if you know what it is, that's all I need to do.
It's funny, when I look at it, I don't feel like I'm missing it.
That's the nicest thing you could have said.
Really, I'm not missing it. It almost lets me.
I mean, look at what's missing on that guy on the right, but.
Right.
I feel like if I did it, it changes the whole.
But you still know what he's feeling. I mean, I can pick up on the body language of a lot of your work. Is it left to my interpretation?
Do you think they're fighting, or do you?
I think he's angry with her, and she has her head bowed down, and I'm thinking maybe feels like she's being scolded.
Good. You can imagine what some people say when they see that. It's interesting to me. It's really fascinating.
What were you thinking when you painted it?
Anger, that he's angry with her.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or disappointed.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't possibly get that detailed about what's going on in his head. I'd much rather hear from somebody that's looking at it, what
Hmm.
they think is going on in his head. And trust me, I do hear that.
So
Every time I show them, I hear that.
when you're painting it, do you know, I mean, do you know what's the brush is going to do on the canvas? Are you?
No. I do detailed sketches, put them on canvas, and then change everything once they're
Mm,
on canvas. Sometimes there'll be a detailed sketch that'll have 3 people in it, and by the time it gets finished, there's one person in
really?
it.
So it changes that much?
Or the opposite, one person turns to 3 people.
You were telling me once, I remember that the way you light a painting is consistent.
It is.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I started to do it to try to make it so they look like they belong together. I light everything from the left, so my shadows always fall to the right, no matter what the
So
painting.
interesting.
No matter what the painting. I don't foreshorten things. I don't do things that seem too tricky. Too. I don't paint things so that people could say, "Oh my God, did you see how he painted that hand?" I don't really care about that. I'm just interested in getting you around the canvas. They're actually, I think, maybe more sculptural than
Hmm. I
than
really
most
also
paintings.
can't get over the detail of the clothing that you paint.
That's Renaissance stuff.
So
That's from
beautifully.
watching Renaissance painters and the old Flemish painters. Roger van der Weyden. I'd go nuts just looking at those things
The
all day long.
draping on the clothing, it's incredible. I used to admire, I was an FIT student, and I used to admire all the fashion design majors, how they would drape their clothing on mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at your paintings, and that's what I see, beautiful draping.
Maybe I saw your portfolio at one point.
I
was on the board of the Graphic Artists Guild, and they sent me to FIT to uh, critique portfolios.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of illustrators?
Of fashion
Fashion.
illustrators. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? I love this painting.
It's a popular one.
It's
I saw the
beautiful.
print a lot, actually.
So can you describe what, I know you don't want to tell me, you want us to interpret it.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I didn't have anything in my head about what they were thinking, or I was thinking like the end of a party and they're
Hanging out.
literally hanging out, like just barely hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what anybody's thinking in there. I mean, I'm not stupid. Well, not completely stupid. So I don't look at that and not know that some people see the big guy's arm around the little guy and think that there's something sexual going on. But that's fine.
I actually don't see a couple, I see a trio.
Well, good.
That's what I see. Because they're all intertwined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I had a lot of bohemian dreams.
Mm-hmm. So do your paintings come from dreams? I mean, do you wake up and
I don't
sketch
remember,
something?
Don't remember dreams. Ever.
Really?
I don't remember them. I probably have them, I just don't remember them.
It looks like you paint very tall people from the size of people.
Well, they're not, I guess, but they're not really in proportion. I have lots of people whose, the distance between their elbows and their hands are twice the size they should be, or the same with knees to feet.
So where have you had exhibits in the past? Have you exhibited in Hoboken a lot?
Some, not, bars, restaurants, Maxwell's, bunch of times. Um, one of the galleries, print galleries up the street, Had some of my work in there for a year. Heba. I can't
Oh,
remember.
Heba.
I can't remember the name of the store.
Yes. Oh, she'll be so mad at me.
Good.
Oh.
Not mad at me.
Oh my goodness. Heba, if you're watching, please write into us.
Tresserie. Right.
Thank you.
And
we love Heba.
Yeah.
11th and Washington.
She's great.
Yes.
But she's not there anymore. Also, here. I had a show here.
When was your show here?
Who knows? 6 years? 5, 6 years ago?
Wow. I think it may be time for an exhibit of your portraiture and paintings from the pandemic.
Yeah, maybe we could get
dropping
Bob
a hint
to look
there,
at this.
Rand, Bob, if you're listening and watching. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were in an art competition years ago. I remember you mentioning to me in Paterson, New Jersey, maybe?
When I was at Montclair State, I had a circuitous road in school. I went to School of Visual Arts right out of high school. I realized that I was in over my head. I couldn't commute every day into the city. I was a kid, and I was seeing homeless people for the first time, and I was depressed as you could be. And so I left. And then I worked for a couple of years, and then I went back to school. But I was such a bad student in high school that I had to go to a county school, a junior college, in order to be accepted any place. So I went to Ocean County College for 1 year, and then I went to Montclair State, and that's where I got my degree from. But when I was in Montclair State, Paterson had opened up its factory space to artists, and they were advertising like crazy. It was a real push to get artists into Paterson.
And this is a bunch of brick buildings right along the
big
falls.
Old silk factories. Yeah, beautiful
Yes, really.
factory space.
Yes.
And they were trying to get artists to come in because that was, pretty much a prescription for gentrification. Get artists to come in first. And I got in this show, this yearly show that they had in Paterson, and they had pulled in as judges Grace Glueck, who was a critic for the Times at the time, one of the curators from Park Bernay, the auction house, and one of the curators from the Whitney. So
quite a jury.
Yeah. So all my teachers were getting involved. Everybody went into the show. And I wound up getting second prize in painting and second best in show.
Pretty phenomenal.
It was great. I went home thinking, this is it. I'm getting my start.
Yes.
And then I didn't do a painting for 7 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I don't want to turn this into a therapy session.
I was going to say a psychologist could have a field day.
Yeah.
So what was going on? You
still don't know. It was just nothing was good enough after that. I thought people were watching, and it wasn't good enough.
You suddenly just had high expectations. You thought the pressure was on.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
So you didn't.
And of course, it was all in my head. But most of my life I've been all in my head. So.
Most people, live from up here.
Yeah.
So how many years didn't you paint for after that?
7 years.
Wow.
7 years. And then after that, I went into illustration, which somehow made it easier for me to work on somebody else's subject matter than it was for me to, create anything.
So when did you feel safe enough to kind of go back to where you belonged?
When I decided that I had been illustrating for too long, and that if I kept doing it, I wasn't going to do a painting. I wasn't going to ever do a painting again.
You must have missed it. You must have missed painting.
I did miss it, but I could have done it. It's just that you can't work at the drawing board all day on an illustration and then turn around and go to the easel
Yeah.
at night. It's
Must
too
be
much.
difficult to be inspired.
Yeah. Inspiration, that's another issue. I mean,
What?
who needs it?
I mean, what are you inspired by? You paint these incredible works of art.
I wish I could tell you something joyous, but it's probably wanting to get a body of work done before I die.
Oh, God.
I mean, I really think that's it.
I think you have quite a body of work, Lou.
I'm painting like crazy now to try to finish a bunch of them before the Widowmaker.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So,
Look at these wonderful paintings. The colors, they're so rich and beautiful.
the colors are much, much different in the acrylics than they are in oils. They're much brighter in oils, but I don't really dislike that these are mostly brown and gray. I actually kind of like the color.
They're beautiful. They're subtle, they're soothing. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
And what about the houses that you seem to have a consistent style of house that you paint behind your people?
I wish I could photograph the street I grew up on, Craig Place in Bloomfield. That's every house on that block.
Really?
My parents bought an old farmhouse. We have pictures of it in the 20s with roosters on the porch. And later on, I guess in the 50s or after the war, they built houses off the three big houses that were farmhouses. And my whole block is a row of those little houses that I paint.
Okay, so that's where it comes from.
Yeah. They're all, mostly, what do you call them? Autobiographical.
Mm-hmm.
In some way. I mean,
and here we are, our green screen. Are we sitting inside your studio?
No.
Or what are we looking at?
That's my studio.
This is your studio at home or at Newman Leathers?
No, at Newman Leather. But that's for an art walk or
the studio tour.
Studio tour, yeah.
Have you been in many of those? I would imagine.
Oh, many.
Yeah.
Forever. I don't even know the person. Oh, hey, Ray.
Oh, your friend Ray is saying that he's loving this whole interview.
Ray's great painter himself.
To Lou's friends out there watching, you should feel free to ask some questions and help me out a little bit. This is my first time conducting an interview for the Hoboken Historical Museum. So I would love some of your questions. If there are some that I'm missing out, we want to welcome you to chat with us in the comments, and we'll do our best to respond. YouTube is our home base, so by the way, if you miss any of Hoboken Talks or want to watch some previous episodes, you should Google Hoboken Talks on YouTube. Nancy says hi.
This, that print sells a lot, as you can imagine.
Yeah, this print has a different mood than your others. This image. Oh, you are one of Margarita Olivieri's most favorite people on earth.
And she mine. Hey, Margarita. She's a doll. Yeah.
What's going on this one?
I used to, my father's brother used to train racehorses.
Your father's brother?
Yeah.
In New Jersey?
Well, in New Jersey and New York. In Monticello, Roosevelt, Freehold, Yonkers.
Oh, where all the tracks are.
All the harness tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, we spent every summer in Monticello, going to the paddocks, feeding the horses, walking the horses.
How great.
And so I have a connection to horses. I mean, I don't know any horses now, so the connection didn't stick. But
the memory of them is still with you.
They're always there, yeah. Sure.
Oh, my goodness. That's my mother. My mother, of course, who who won't watch anything on Facebook, says she doesn't even have Facebook, is
She's
watching us on Facebook.
She's quick becoming one of my favorite people. Mom.
My mom's not partial at all.
That's funny.
My mom is probably loving your paintings.
Oh, good.
I'm certain of it.
Good. Yeah.
And so in the future, what are your plans? Are you still have some more work to do from the pandemic that you still have in your mind to work toward?
I do, but in the meantime, I'd sort of like to focus on maybe some prints for a while. Just to, these days it's all Social Security for me, so if I can put together, something to supplement, that'd be good.
So when Sissy says hi to Lulu.
Hey, sis.
So Lou, my mother won't stop writing in. I love you, Mom. She threw me off track. So these sketches that are different from your acrylic paintings that we're looking at here.
Yeah.
So these figure sketches, are these done at a studio with a live model?
Yeah. The original sketches are.
And where do you go? What studios do you go to?
No. I'm not going anywhere now, but many places. I used to have models in my studio, and people used to come over to my studio. The last one was at, hey, Jean-Paul. The last one was Field something or other.
Field Colony?
Field Colony.
The one on 10th and Bloomfield?
Yeah. Yeah, he had models in there.
They're doing some interesting things over there.
I hope. There are interesting things, and then for a long time it seems like there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
But it was great, life drawing. I was 2 blocks from it, so it was easy to get to.
Do you make prints of your life drawing paintings as well?
Yeah.
So if people are interested after seeing your interview and falling in love with your art, let's say they want to buy a print or a painting, what should they do? Should they go to loucarbone.com?
Yeah. I have a website, loucarbone.com. Yeah.
And on Instagram, what's your handle?
I'm Lou Carbone Art. I got lucky with those.
Right? Yeah, how'd you get these names?
loucarbone.com, and there's a Lou Carbone who's a marketing genius who teaches marketing. After my name, his name is 10 times, but somehow I got I don't know.
He's probably quite jealous. He'd probably offer you a good amount of money for that.
I've got good web luck.
Yeah, and maybe you'll get more followers because of the cross.
Right.
Right. So they can go to your website and they can look at images and contact you through the website. You'll have an email.
Yeah, they can email me. Yeah. Yeah, I certainly don't want people calling on the phone, but email, yeah. So
your first apartment, you were telling me, was on 6th and Park. Aren't you on 7th Street now? Where do you live?
I'm at 821 Park.
So you didn't move far in 40 years.
No, I lived in a factory space, a loft space in over Hoboken Glass on Clinton.
Oh.
And I lived there for maybe 15 years.
That must have been fantastic.
It was really fantastic. I had lots of great parties. And it was long enough ago that I didn't have to worry about, who was going to sue me after it was all over. It was great. It was really great. And it was, by that time, it was one of the last, spaces like that available. Now they built loft spaces since, but at the time it was either a railroad or the factory I was in.
I can't even imagine. I've been in Hoboken 23 years now, but you've been here 40. The changes that you've witnessed must be mind-blowing.
Pretty unbelievable. It was a blue-collar working town that I loved, that I adored. And now it's a little Epcot, but, it's what you got. It's everywhere.
But don't you still feel like you've always had a community here?
Yes.
I feel like Hoboken is very special and unique in that respect.
Yeah, me too.
It's
You can't go to the store without stopping a bunch
Right?
of times. Yeah,
You don't have to
it's
plan
good.
your whole day with appointments and scheduling visits with people because you step outside and you're
Or
gonna
sit at a coffee shop.
or sit at a coffee shop if you're Lou Carbone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's great. It's great in a lot of ways.
It's hard to get lonely in Hoboken because you'll always see people, except during the pandemic, more challenging.
Um, it was no Brigadoon when I first came here. I mean, there were newspapers blowing around on Washington Street, little old Italian and Puerto Rican widows in their black dresses. The people that I know from here that grew up here say that just a few years before we came, the Puerto Rican kids would run through the Italian neighborhoods, and the Italian kids would run through the Puerto Rican neighborhoods because there were possibility of fights. So, it was just had a little more character.
A little more West Side Story vibe.
Yeah, that's right. Cool it, action boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But you still love it, right? And do you feel like you have fellow artists here to,
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It was an art community back then. And even then, the real big stuff was going on just 9 minutes away in the city. So it was tough to really have an art community.
Right.
We haven't really nurtured an art community here that much. So there are artists.
I think you have an arts and music community, right? Of people still around town.
Yeah, sure.
I really hope. I mean, there are a couple buildings left that really try to hold on to their art community. Like Newman Leathers is going to be undergoing redevelopment, and we're hoping that they'll keep their word and protect arts and industry like they have promised.
Yeah.
You have the Monroe Arts Center.
Yeah, but Monroe's, now it's too expensive for artists.
Yeah.
They actually gave me a 3-month. I was their artist in residence for
At
3 months.
Monroe?
They gave me a studio for 3 months.
Oh, wow. When was that?
Maybe 5 years ago. I thought it was my duty to get some work done, so I got some work done. But
have you ever taught?
I taught a lot. Taught at Montclair State for a while.
You taught art painting?
No,
what did you teach?
I taught painting at Seton Hall. I was an adjunct. I taught illustration at Montclair State, and I used to sub a lot. I subbed at SVA, subbed at Parsons. Did a graduate course in conceptual illustration in Scranton at Marywood.
Wow.
I know. Trust me, it sounds a lot better than it was.
So you went to SVA, to a community college in Ocean County.
Yeah.
To Montclair State.
I know. I've been to a lot of schools.
And then you went for an MFA.
At Syracuse.
Yeah. So you're quite an academic.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I didn't dislike teaching. I had some students that actually, went places, got some professional things done. But for the most part, I was an easy 3 credits.
But did you enjoy teaching, or do you prefer doing the work?
Doing the work.
Doing the work.
Yeah. I wouldn't teach again.
No.
I get asked a lot. Not formally by schools, but places that teach art.
Yeah.
No,
not your jam so much anymore.
No, I wouldn't do it. I just plan to paint now. I mean, never had a plan actually work out, so who knows?
Right. But it's been working so far at 2020, 2021.
Right.
You've been launched really well from the pandemic into your passion.
Yeah. The plan is to just build a body of work.
Yeah. So all these years, have you kept a car in town?
Until until 2 weeks ago. I junked my car 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And now I get around in the most prehistoric form of transportation. I walk like a
Your
caveman.
feet.
I walk like people did before horses.
So you're getting your 10,000 steps. Well, so if you've had a car all these years,
Yeah.
I have to ask you, how's your parallel parking?
Great. I'm a great parallel.
Are
I used
you?
to drive a cab.
In New York?
No. In Harrison, Kearney, that area, Newark.
Really?
Yeah.
At which phase of your...
I was a kid. It was my uncle's cab company. And it was based in Harrison, but most of the jobs were Kearney and Newark. And I'm a fabulous parallel parker.
On both sides of the street on a one-way?
It never occurred to me to think about which side of the street it was on.
In Hoboken, we are a special bunch because you have to be good at parallel parking on the left and the right.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, nobody's parallel parking anymore.
Unless you're in town, you don't have a residence sticker.
Oh, yeah. Then
you only got one side to worry about.
Yeah, right. I think it's a really important interview question if you're conducting an interview in Hoboken.
About whether the parallel.
Yeah, because how often are you driving behind someone who you know doesn't live here and you want to just scream in the car because they just can't park, right?
It happens often.
Often.
Yeah.
So, Lou, are we looking at a picture of you from your earlier days?
That's my high school yearbook picture.
Wow. And what was your quote?
Oh, hell, I don't know. I don't remember. But I could tell you that those steamy bedroom eyes are from the 2 joints that I smoked on the way to the photographer.
I guess it's okay to say that now that pot is becoming totally legal. Oh, so you were totally high in that picture?
Totally high. Speaking of which, my friends used to tell me that looked like Keith Moon. Yeah.
Now, who's that?
Gail Moran. Haven't seen her since shortly after that.
That's a great picture.
They moved to Ohio. Gail's mother was a nurse. Her father was an advertising executive, and they were the first time I had a girlfriend whose parents smoked pot. We used to smoke pot
You must have loved that.
with her parents, yeah. Actually, maybe I shouldn't be outing her parents, but I haven't seen her in 50, 60 years.
I think it's okay.
50 years. Yeah, that's my wicked uncle. Who knows?
I love that picture.
That's Orangina.
Is that your bird?
No. It's my friend's. It's my friends John Patterson and Cassandra Pappas.
Ray just commented that you've always been a handsome man.
Yeah, he's a what's the word? Adept. He's an adept person.
That's the Lou I met 20 years ago. That's how I met you. I knew nothing about your fine art.
With the
I don't think you had
the used car mustache or the porn mustache.
And I don't remember you wearing a mask when you painted in my house.
Yeah, well, that probably had to be sanding. A lot of sanding.
But I always did see you with a cup of coffee and a baggie of cashews.
Always.
Always.
Still.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
How many houses would you say you've painted in Hoboken?
Oh, many. Maybe one on every street.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, at least one on every street. Yeah, lots.
Do you miss it?
I did it for a long time. No.
Not at all.
Work is more important than I always thought it was. And I paint a lot of work. I paint, people working right there. But no, I'd much rather not work.
When did you realize that?
It took a while.
So if you're just joining us, we are interviewing Lou Carbone, the talented, fine artist who's been living in Hoboken more than he hasn't in his life. I think you could safely say that now. You've spent more years in Hoboken than not. And And we are interviewing him from the upper gallery at the Hoboken Historical Museum. And we are sitting
where the
amidst,
very lovely Gary Spector's
yes,
artwork is.
we are sitting in the
and his art.
gallery where Gary Spector's portraits are hung to feature the essential workers that worked on the front lines during the pandemic at Hoboken University Medical Center. You knew Gary 40 years ago because he had some friends of yours. You lived in the same building or something?
1124 Washington.
Is that over where Hair Cult is now? 11?
Maybe.
I think maybe.
It's got to be close to
Yeah.
that. Gary and his roommate Lou lived upstairs from two friends, Marianne Sievert and Mary Soderman, who were servers at Maxwell's, lived at 1124, and Gary lived in the same building. And we became friends right off the bat. I mean, I wasn't here very long, and we became friends. There were a lot of people from the art department at Montclair State that came right here after school, after graduation.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a built-in community here when I got here. And it really was art-centric at the time. I came in and walked around and met a whole bunch of people, and I was really excited about coming here. It was great. It was a great place.
And you felt that, you could have jumped into the city and lived in the West Village just as easily, but you chose Hoboken. You must have really felt an energy.
$150 rent made a big part of the decision.
Yeah.
But it was, to me anyway, it was as close to jumping into an apartment in the West Village as I could get.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very happy with it. It wasn't like I felt like I was
settling.
Yeah, settling, right.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it.
And
I felt like I had a connection to it because of my mother, because she grew up here.
You said your grandmother was born here in 1910, or your mother? Your mother was born. Was she born at Hoboken Hospital?
No, she was born at 529 Monroe.
And did she talk to you about growing up in Hoboken when she was raising you?
Yeah, sure. It was funny because my father would take any opportunity to stick my mother, to jab her.
About being from Hoboken, or?
About anything, but especially from being from Hoboken.
Where was he from?
The land God forgot.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Where was he from?
East Newark, Harrison.
So help me there.
He grew up in Harrison. Yeah, well.
Did she have a good childhood here?
Who knows?
1910, huh?
I don't know. When she tells stories, when she told stories, they moved every 6 months.
Within town?
She lived 10 places in Hoboken over the years.
Wow.
They used to move. She told me once that her father, my grandfather, I never met either of my grandfathers, but she tells me that he used to come home from work and my grandmother would be moving furniture across the street.
You're kidding me.
Like while he was at work, she decided they were moving across the street.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Were her parents also from here, or had they immigrated from somewhere?
No, they were Italian. They came here. Her family were Carusos. My father's family, Carbones, and they were from Abruzzi.
Where is Abruzzi?
Who the hell knows?
We have to look that up.
In Italy someplace.
Soon my mother will be chiming in. Italy is her favorite place. She'll be writing very shortly exactly where it is.
I went to Italy, but I went, to the tourist place. I went to Venice and Florence and Rome and Livorno.
Fort Lee.
That was a crazy left turn. But I never went to the places that would make sense for me to go to, which
like
would
to see where you come from.
Yeah, Abruzzi, and my father's family is from Naples, and I've never seen those places. I was never south of Rome.
Well, now I would recommend, it's probably not the best time to go, but if you ever watch CNN, Stanley Tucci has a new show called Searching for Italy, and he breaks it up into 20 regions of food in Italy, and he does a great segment on Naples.
Oh.
So you should watch it.
Yeah, I should watch it.
Yeah.
I will. I'll see it.
Definitely.
So
should we mention quickly what's coming up at the, oh wait, I love this photo of you. We'll talk about what's coming up next at the museum when we're done.
That photo is by
love this
great
photo.
David White.
He's a great local photographer in Hoboken.
Yes, he is.
He takes the most magnificent New York City skyline shots too. I follow him on Facebook, and his images of the moon over the city are breathtaking.
But his crowning achievement is he takes this and makes that out of it.
I mean, this is a fabulous picture of you. Yeah. I love it. Shout out to Dave
Look
White.
At all that character.
It's fabulous.
Okay.
So let's talk about quickly what's coming up at the Hoboken Historical Museum. The museum is going to be turning over exhibits soon. First, let's talk about what's coming up. Let's see. Rand's going to let us know, and then we can let you know. First, let's talk about who's coming up in interviews at Hoboken Talks. Next week, Liz Cohen will be interviewed by Bill Curran, and then Father Vincent Fortunato. And there's a new exhibit that's going to be opening in early August. It's called On the Avenue, I believe, and it's about the history of Washington Street, which will be quite interesting. And we've got just a couple more minutes left. Oh, the new exhibit is going to be called The Avenue, A History of Washington Street, like I said. And you'll be able to catch that in August sometime. Yeah, pretty exciting, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't know how this interview was going to go. I'm feeling good. Like, look at this. We've done 57 minutes. Where did the time go, Lou? Wasn't this fun? Oh, and here, let's give Gary Spector a plug. You can still see the Essential Workers exhibit featuring the frontline workers. A plug. I just want to give a shout out to my husband who was in the exhibit because he's a physician at the hospital, Robert Strell. Gary Spector has an incredible exhibit in the upper gallery at Hoboken Historical Museum, but you have to come by Sunday to see it. And you really should just walk in. The other thing I believe I need to mention is that anytime this museum is open, so is the ping pong table in the arcade. Is that called an arcade? The passageway.
When the ping pong table is open, it's an arcade.
Thank you, Lou. See, Lou just justified what I said. So when the ping pong table is open, which is when the museum is open, you can come play. Come play some pickup table tennis. There's a lot going on here. The museum has so much to offer. We encourage you to join, come see. There's yoga classes during the year. There are Tai Chi classes. There are exhibits. There are wonderful people working here to chat with. Mm-hmm. And this interview will be archived, I believe, forever. If you look up Hoboken Talks, I really hope when we watch this tomorrow, we feel okay with that. Please, Rand and Bob, do whatever edits you need to make us feel good about watching this in the future. We'd appreciate it. We want to give thanks to Donald Shawcott, who is a donor and a supporter of Hoboken Historical Museum, because without givers like Donald Shawcott, this program and other exhibits could not take place at the museum.
Excellent.
We also want to thank our other sponsors like the New Jersey Historical Commission and Applied Development Company. Thank you for supporting arts
And thank you, Pamela.
Oh,
You're
Lou,
terrific.
you're so sweet. And it's my total honor to be a guest host and to have you as my first interview. So thank you.
Thank you.
I mean it.
I did
Can we
too.
hug on screen? Rand, is it okay? Okay, good. Thank you, Lou. This was so fun. And it wasn't as stressful as we might have thought it would be.
No, I did think it was going to be stressful.
I know. We were a little stressed.
I was actually more nervous all day than I was.
I know. You know,
talking to you.
sometimes you just got to show up. Like the worst of it is thinking about what's to come, but when you're there, it's all okay. So thank you, everybody. We hope you had a really nice time.